Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Laura Mignot, CEO of the Cultural Communications Agency, D Flash. Each episode, I bring on a different business leader who's doing some really amazing work. And I'm so excited to have Melissa Berrios, who is an online marketing specialist. She's going to talk about her career journey, how she got to be where she is today. She's going to tell me about how warm it is in Florida, and so much more. It's going to be a great conversation. Take a listen. Hey, Melissa.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here.
We're so psyched to have you here. So we dive right into the very first question because it's always the same. And I'm always fascinated by the answers. So, Melissa, what was your first job?
My first job, I actually went to school for civil engineering, and I was in my first job was a civil engineering job.
Wow.
Yeah, I worked in the civil engineering industry for 13 years. So yeah, it's been a long ride over there. And it was good, but that was my first job.
Wow. And what was that like? Because I feel like there are probably not a lot of women.
Yes, actually, that you're right, and especially with civil engineering because it's all to do with construction. It's a very male predominant industry. But during the recent decade, I think things have been changing, and we're seeing a lot more women in the market in that industry. So, but yeah, very male. Not a lot of women. When I started working, like the last company I worked for, I was actually there was only two female engineers out of like 20 people office. So yeah, interesting.
I am sure. Okay, so we go from being a civil engineer to being an online marketing rock star. How does that
Mhm.
happen? What's that career journey like?
Well, it kind of it wasn't planned, but it started. I've always been a very intuitive person, and I mean, besides being good with math, that's which was what led me to engineering. I was always very creative, and I always liked to be involved in um, the arts and other things that were not really like academically, very technical, that just like engineering. And I was a singer. I played the guitar. I was involved in arts and all kinds of things in college. And that was kind of like always good for my creative side. I was always nurturing it in a way. Besides being an engineer, I was always nurturing that side. But as I started climbing the corporate ladder in engineering, my role changed because, I mean, take it. Civil engineering has some create. You have to use your creativity. If you're an engineer, you need to be creative as well. But as I was growing, my role went into more of a management role, and not as much as a creative role. And then that side of me started dying in a way.
Ah,
And so the way that I guess I figured out how to feed that creative part of me was to create a blog. And so I started a blog it's almost 4 years ago. I started the blog, and it was a travel blog, travel and food blog, and it was just my hobby. I was just doing it for fun, and I just went down the rabbit hole on the whole um, online marketing, just for my blog because I wanted to. I started to for friends and family, but then I wanted to do more with it, and at some point I also wanted to monetize it in other ways. And so I wanted to create, get more traffic into my blog, get more exposure on social media, get visibility on social media. I was creating content like crazy for it. I went on getting photography lessons. I got a, huge camera,
You
started
went all
taking,
in.
yeah, no, yeah, I was doing, and at the same time, I was doing engineering. And it was just like my thing. I just wanted to do, I did that on my free time. And so there was a time I got pregnant. I got my, with my second son, and I got postpartum depression after my second son was born. It was pretty bad. So, and I'm very open to talking about it because I think this is something that needs to be talked about.
Absolutely.
And so I decided, we as a family decided at some point that, my work schedule and the way I was, working, it was, and my engineering job was very intense, and it required me to be a lot of, put a lot of time and energy. And I wasn't, I wasn't really good, and my depression got worse. So we decided as a family that I would, take a break from my 9 to 5, stay home, and then figure out from there. I just wanted to get better, and we will figure it out as a family. So as I was at home, and being for so long in, in the workforce, I wanted to do something to generate, some income and to help my husband as well, because I didn't just want to, I mean, I wanted to get better, but I also wanted to figure out something that I could do from home. So I started I started working as a VA. So I just like created this VA business, and started doing what I love the most is creating content for people online. And from there, I got my first big client, which is a business coach. She told me everything about online businesses, how to work the back. I worked the back end for her for a long period of time. And from there, I got referrals. I fell in love with it, since I loved content creation. I kind of went into that line. I started creating content for people, helping them with all the online marketing back end of their businesses. And so it's how my business just kind of like was born, and it grew from there because I from there got referrals. I expanded. Now I'm teaching other people how to do it. So yeah, it's been a journey, and I love it so far. So I haven't been back to engineering since then.
Wow. And that's
Yeah.
amazing. So but it's also like, your ability to sort of realize what wasn't serving you anymore, and putting and
Yes.
prioritizing your mental health, which oftentimes, especially working moms, just don't do because they've got so much to navigate with. And, what made you decide that, like, I really can't go back. I've got to start something new.
You know, when you experience the freedom that you can get from having an online business, it makes you don't want to go back. I mean, of course, if I have to, I will. Like, I mean, my family's first, and I will put a roof over their heads, no matter what. But, you know, the amount of freedom that you have, especially with for us that struggle with mental health issues, sometimes you need some space. You need to have that time where you are, you have to deal with your own stuff. And having a regular job sometimes it's hard. It's
Hmm.
hard to fit that into your schedule. You know what I mean? And having the freedom to work on your own terms has allowed me to take care of myself, take care of my family, and still being able to provide them. So yeah.
Awesome. So tell us more about online marketing, because and running online marketing businesses, because I think, especially now as we're kind of in the midst of the pandemic, and people are not alone in saying, listen, I don't want to go back to that insane grind anymore of like flying here and there and everywhere,
Yeah.
working 90 hours a week for what? What's some advice you would give for folks who was like, okay, I've been seeing stuff about online businesses, but I'm not even sure where to start.
I would start with like, what's your passion? what are you passionate about? Because I guarantee that anything that you're really passionate about, you can make a business out of it. And that's something that it's so incredible about the online world, is that there's so many people out there that needs from you and from the knowledge that you already have. When you're really passionate about something, there's always going to be a market for that. And do your research, and if you're really passionate about something and you find that there's a need for that knowledge that you have, come up with a business. It's I think that these days, you can make a business out of anything that you're really passionate about.
Very cool. Okay, so then once you've found the business, how do you actually grow it? Like, what are some ways that, from a, your experience as a content creator, how do you sort of build?
Yeah, well, first, you have to have a content strategy, and also a visibility strategy. And if we talk about, or we hear about the funnel all the time, right? The very famous marketing funnel. But it's really what you're doing is, when you create your own business, you need to be visible. You need to, get people to know you. And you do that by, there's ways to do it. You can create a paid ad for people to know you, and that's a strategy. You can have a visibility funnel in a way, like, so to speak. And but you can also organically do it by collaborating with other people. And just as I am here collaborating with you, we can collaborate with other brands or other businesses that are similar or complementary to yours, and put yourself in front of different audiences every day, every week, and get people to know you. Get yourself in front of that ideal person, ideal client that you want to, the person that you want to work with. And at the same time, you want to have that visibility for your business, but you also want to have, nowadays, with online marketing and with the online businesses, everything is online. You need to be ready for when people want to know more about you. You need to have your website together, and you need to be, have presence on social media. If you have a podcast, even better. But the content that you're creating in those platforms and all those different channels, I call them like the ecosystem, because it's like you need to be present in all of these places, but so that when people see you and, through your visibility strategies, they come in contact with your content. And the first thing that they do when they see or they come across a piece of content is, know who you are, what you do, and how you can help them. And your content needs to visually match your brand, match your message, and needs to appeal that market or that ideal client or avatar, because at the end of the day, it's about them, it's not about you. And then second, you need to have a strong focus on serving your audience by putting out their free, meaningful content that will create small transformations for your market. And in that way, in exchange, they will trust you. They will move forward with working with you once you put an offer out there. But it needs to be, all these layers need to be incorporated, because it's not just about being seen, but once they come across you, they want to fall in love with you, and they want to be there with you all the time. So yeah, to grow it, you need to be visible, but you also have to nurture those people that come across you and come across your content, and work them down through that visibility funnel, until they become a client.
Awesome. And I like, and great actionable like advice. Like this is kind of thing sometimes folks don't realize, like, no, you have to put that content out. Like somehow, some way, however you can make it work, you have to be a content creator. Like there is no other shortcut to get there
Mm-hmm.
other than to do that.
Yes.
And, looking back on what you've done now, and how you've had to like go from career to career, what do you think you'd tell 21-year-old Melissa?
Wow. I would tell her to not worry so much about little things. I still struggle, but I used to struggle a lot more with anxiety. And sometimes we get so narrow focused on things that are in the grand scheme of things that are not that important, or they might not even happen. You know what I mean? So I would tell her that to just chill and learn to trust the process, because it's you don't know what's coming from you for you. It will come, and it might not be the way you imagine it, but it will be there and it will be perfect.
Awesome. I think that's a great bit of advice. Now, the flip side of this is like, so now that you're this amazing online marketer and working mom, what do you do for Melissa? What do you do for your self care?
Well, it's interesting because now that I work from home, sometimes it's a mixed bag, right? We have the flexibility, and this is something that I'm very, very grateful for, is that I have the flexibility to take care of myself when needed without asking permission, or having to explain or give too much explanation to anybody. Um, but at the same time, we tend to overwork them ourselves at home, just because sometimes um, there's no boundary between work and personal life. Our office is at home, our computer is in the dining kitchen. Like it's very hard to maintain that balance. So for me, I intentionally try to take those away times, where I completely disconnect. And sometimes that means that I need to get away from the house. And now, before it used to be, oh, I can't wait to get out of the office. Now it's like, I can't wait to
Well,
get
the
out of the
house.
house. So yeah, like, we, it doesn't have to be something very fancy or very expensive, but just plan to get away from the house, even if it's for a short weekend. You get out of the house, you spend time with your family. Even within the day to day, I go out for walks. Like at 3 o'clock is my break time, and I go out for a long walk, and I come back. And just having that time for myself, just having that time away from the house, helps a lot to take care of myself, my mental health, and set that boundary between work and my health, actually, and my personal life.
It's what we all need, and we have to take care of ourselves, especially during this time where it's like, get out of the house, go for a walk,
I know.
like just like leave. I know it's hot as hell in Florida, but yeah, still go outside, get some fresh air, walk around the subdivision,
Yes.
whatever you gotta do. Because it really is so important to get that fresh air, to breathe, and not be sitting at our desks all day, because this is unlike anything we've ever experienced. And so, taking care of our mental health is so paramount to making sure that we're going to make it through this extremely
Yes.
challenging time. So I'm right there with you. Like, get out whenever you can, just get out.
Yes.
So, last question for you. Do you have a give and or an ask of the audience?
I actually, I maybe I just have and just a quick advice.
Go for it.
Something that I've learned through this entrepreneur journey, and is to take imperfect action. I'm a recovering perfectionist, and
Me too.
I see, and now that I am in this space of like also teaching people how to build their own online businesses and how to market themselves, I see this so much, and you just have to take action, and not so many people freeze just because they want things to be perfect before they put them out there. In the meantime, a lot of opportunity is lost, a lot of time is lost, and so even sometimes people that have less, you complain because there's people that have less knowledge, or maybe you will be doing a better job than them. They're putting their stuff out there and they're having success, but meanwhile you're not. You just got to do it. You just got to put your just give it your all at the moment, give it your best, put it out there, and keep improving it. Keep improving it as you go. So imperfect action is one of the key elements and it's one of the things that have helped me move from getting stuck, it helped me from getting stuck in my business. And I still think that my all the things that I do, like, they're not perfect, but I'm out there, I'm putting myself out there. And that's the most important thing. Just take imperfect action.
That's a great piece of advice, because I think that, especially right now, people think they have to have the most fully baked idea, every potential scenario solved. And if they don't, then they can't even get started. And it's so important to understand that, like I said, imperfect action leads the way. Like, you will find your way, but if you don't get on your way, like, you're never gonna
I
get anywhere.
know.
Um,
I know. Yeah. So true.
so that is a big piece of it. And I hope folks are listening. So, Melissa, you have just stock full of really awesome advice. So it's such a pleasure having you on the podcast. So we're going to put all the details in your show notes for folks to reach out and connect with you, because clearly they need your help. um,
Absolutely. Yeah, they can. I'm easily reached on Instagram. I'm always there. It's at Melissa Berrios. And yeah, just send me a DM, or they can go to my website, melissaberrios.net /English if they don't understand Spanish. And they can learn more about how we can help, and how we can work together.
Awesome. Will do. Uh, Melissa, you're such a delight and a really incredible inspiration. I'm a tad jealous because you're in warm and sunny Florida, but that's okay. But thanks so much for joining us on the show today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful. And that is our show.